In this video, I'll be showing you how to use the Troy-bilt Pony Tiller and a potato hilling attachment to form nice raised beds. This works similar to what you may have seen with Jean-Martin Fortier and the Market Gardener with the rotary plow, but instead of being thousands of dollars for a BCS tiller, you can just pick up a used Troy-bilt Pony Tiller and then one of these potato hilling attachments. Underneath your Troy-bilt tiller, there's going to be a hole for attaching it, and that's actually where this here is going to go. Then you simply just put a nut through it, either the one that came with it, or if you got something old, just go to the hardware store and get the right size. So we'll do that now, and I'll show you how it looks like after we have the hilling attachment hooked to the tiller. That's what it looks like hooked up. I highly recommend using a nylock nut so it doesn't rattle off while you're using it. And then you'll need two somethings to grab and turn it, otherwise it'll just spin in place as you're tightening it up. On it, there are also, on the plow itself, let me show you here, there are also adjustments for the wings, so you can change the angle at which it's going. And these are set to what I'm going to use. It doesn't really matter, you can just experiment with it with how high you want your beds. And you'll see for my rake down method, anyways, different sizes of beds. I'm going to be making some standard looking beds. All right, so then also helpful when you're working on it, if you just change the tiller so that the guide bar is picking it up off the ground, and then adjust it down to what you want. I'll probably go so that it's maybe a depth of 4 or 5 inches. All right, and then next thing I'll show you is finished product, how I rake them down. One thing I forgot to say is that you can, first year I did it, I used a string to mark it off. Now I'm just going to eyeball it and shoot it straight. But if you wanted each bed to be exactly a certain width or whatnot, then obviously mark it off, use string, and run a string line. After a first pass, this is what it should look like. We'll make sure that the beds are what we want, and then we're going to run it over again. You can we can make it greater depth by setting it down a little further, or if you want the paths wider, flick the wings at a lower angle from the ground. So anyways, we'll see what it looks like after the second pass, and then we'll show how to flatten them down and make them look pretty. And in this case, because we're tilling this up for the first time in a long time, obviously we want to till less as we go along. Then we'll also show how I use the light deprivation tarps to get some weed pressure reduced. Okay, here it is after a second pass. You could make a third or a fourth if you wanted to, but that's good enough for me. Now I'm going to rake you can see it creates little hills here, which is great if you're doing a single crop row. But if you want to flatten those out, I'm going to take a landscape rake here. And I'm going to flatten it out. I happen to make my beds the width of my landscape rake, so I can just drag it down the middle. Okay, when you've raked the tops down, it'll look like that. So I'm going to actually get a trailer load full of organic dairy cow manure, because we're going to need some nitrogen for what we're planting here. I shouldn't say we need it, it'll grow better and faster if we have it a little extra, even though the soil's pretty good. Anyways, also, since this was grass that we had here, I'm going to go ahead and tarp it a little bit, and I'll show you how that looks in a second, so that 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month, and then we'll have a nice stale seed bed to plant into when it's time, when my seedlings are ready to go. Okay, so 7mm Panda film. These tarps are 4 or 5 seasons old, I don't know, somewhere around there. And we'll leave this on here until I put the manure down, and then, like I said, a little, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, I don't know, whatever it takes, whatever I've got. Longer's better, and we'll get a good weed kill. And there you go. Prepping beds, all told, everything you saw there probably took an hour and a half, maybe. Like, subscribe, comment, you know the drill.